You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your PMP certification journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Mixed domain scenarios that connect process and business environment are especially challenging because they test more than delivery mechanics. They also ask whether the project manager can keep compliance intact while protecting benefits realization. In practice, this means that you must not only track scope, schedule, and budget, but also ensure that regulatory obligations are respected and that the promised benefits are still visible. When pressure mounts, the temptation is to prioritize delivery speed alone, but the discipline that sets a professional apart is remembering that impact analysis must come before action, compliance evidence must be traceable, and benefit owners must be engaged. The artifacts that matter most in these drills are the benefits register, the compliance register, the formal change path, and contracts with vendors or partners. The benefits register identifies each expected outcome, the metrics that define it, and the owner responsible for sustaining it. The compliance register records all regulatory obligations, their owners, and the evidence collected to date. The change path outlines how decisions are logged and approved, preventing improvisation under stress. Contracts define obligations across organizational boundaries, often where compliance and benefits risks meet. These artifacts serve as anchors when conflicts blur people, process, and business pressures. As you work through these scenarios, you should check not only whether you identified the right next step, but also whether you could name the benefit owner or compliance owner you would brief. Score yourself 1 point for each correct decision, then mark your confidence as high, medium, or low. This practice reinforces that confidence matters as much as correctness. If you guessed correctly but with low confidence, it signals an area to revisit. The goal is to condition your instincts, pause before action, check the right artifact, consult the owner, and decide via policy. The first scenario begins with a compliance surprise during testing. An auditor requests evidence that all changes in the last 2 sprints have been formally approved. When the team checks, they discover gaps. 2 changes lack formal approval links, even though production release is scheduled for just 5 days from now. The pressure is immense. The product is nearly ready, stakeholders want the release on schedule, and auditors are asking questions. This is the perfect storm where shortcuts become tempting. The project manager's job is to resist improvisation and demonstrate compliance discipline. The artifacts involved here are the changelog, approval records, and continuous integration or continuous deployment pipeline logs. The changelog should show every authorized modification and link each to approval evidence. Approval records should be accessible and verifiable, whether captured in ticketing systems or sign-off forms. CI/CD logs provide technical evidence that approved changes were the ones actually deployed. Together, these artifacts create traceability from decision to implementation. They are the bridge between governance and operations. Without them, compliance claims collapse under scrutiny. The correct response is to compile the official changelog, link every change to its approval record, and use CI/CD evidence to confirm deployments. Where approvals are missing, a corrective and preventive action CAPA must be opened, documenting the gap and the plan to prevent recurrence. If auditors are satisfied that gaps are acknowledged and managed, release proceeds. Only if compliance authorities mandate a delay should the schedule be adjusted. This approach preserves cadence, protects compliance, and shows regulators that discipline is intact. It demonstrates impact analysis before action. Check evidence, open CAPA, then decide. Weaker approaches are easy to imagine. Shipping anyway and promising to fix records later is non-compliant and undermines trust. Canceling the release immediately may be unnecessary if compliance can be restored with evidence and CAPA. Sending chat screenshots as proof may feel expedient, but will fail audit standards, as informal messages are not durable records. Each of these responses sacrifices either compliance or cadence. By contrast, producing the official changelog with linked approvals, supported by CAPA, balances both. It is defensible, traceable, and professional, The predictive variant of this situation would involve a gate review rather than a sprint cadence. In that case, the artifacts would be the phase gate checklist, sign-off sheets, and archived approval packs. The logic is the same. Auditors want a single record of changes, linked to approvals and stored for future reference. Whether iterative or predictive, the heuristic remains unchanged. Produce the official log, link evidence, document gaps with CAPA, and decide go, no go via the policy path. This prevents improvisation and ensures that compliance is embedded in workflow, not reconstructed after the fact. The pitfall to avoid here is treating paperwork as something you can create after the fact. That mindset leads to rushed, low-quality documentation that auditors can spot easily. It also leaves the underlying process broken, so the same gaps will reappear. Corrective action is not about patching the evidence. It is about fixing the workflow that failed to capture it. Embedding compliance in the definition of done or in automated pipelines ensures that approvals are logged as work happens. This creates durable traceability, reducing the risk of surprises later. This scenario highlights the broader lesson that compliance cannot be deferred. It must be part of the daily workflow, not an afterthought at release. Evidence must be captured once and linked properly to artifacts. When auditors arrive, the project manager's confidence comes not from charm but from documentation. By demonstrating compliance discipline under pressure, you preserve trust with regulators, protect cadence for stakeholders, and sustain morale for teams. Compliance and delivery are not in opposition. They reinforce each other when managed responsibly. Another insight is that benefit owners must also be informed. Compliance lapses threaten benefits because delayed or rejected releases undermine adoption, satisfaction, or cost savings. When change logs are incomplete, the benefit owner loses confidence in forecasts. Briefing them early ensures that benefits forecasts remain honest and traceable. It also shows that compliance is not a silo. It intersects directly with value delivery. By connecting compliance evidence with benefits realization, the project manager demonstrates integrated thinking. This strengthens governance by tying decisions back to both obligations and outcomes. The importance of corrective and preventative actions cannot be overstated. CAPA logs demonstrate maturity by showing that gaps are not ignored, but tracked, assigned, and resolved. Auditors respect organizations that acknowledge flaws and demonstrate improvement. Benefit owners also gain confidence when CAPA is linked to forecasts. This practice signals that the project is not just delivering features, but strengthening systems for long-term sustainability. It reflects the mindset of a professional project manager. Every issue is both a problem to solve now and a chance to improve governance permanently. This first drill reinforces the rhythm of detect, analyze, decide, implement, and update artifacts. The auditor's request was the detection. The gap analysis revealed missing approvals. The decision came through the compliance policy: produce logs, link evidence, open CAPA. Implementation followed with updated records and possibly minor release adjustments. Artifacts were updated to capture the process. By following this rhythm, the project manager managed a crisis calmly, preserved cadence, and protected compliance. This is the kind of professional reflex that separates reactive managers from trusted leaders. The case also shows how communication under pressure must be deliberate. Simply telling stakeholders the audit is covered is not enough. They need to see the linked changelog, the evidence trail, and the CAPA plan. Regulators want documentation, not reassurance. Teams want to know that their efforts are being recorded accurately. By communicating with evidence, the project manager satisfies all three groups simultaneously. This demonstrates that impact analysis before action is not only a decision-making habit but also a communication principle. Evidence first, words second. This scenario sets the tone for the rest of the drill. External audits, benefit tracking, and vendor obligations will continue to create conflicts between process discipline and business environment realities. The professional path remains the same. Pause, analyze impact through artifacts, consult owners, and decide via policy. This rhythm builds credibility with both regulators and sponsors. It ensures benefits remain visible and compliance remains intact, even under pressure. It is this balance between process and business environment that defines project management maturity. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. The second case begins with a problem that is as much about business accountability as it is about process discipline. After the project's formal handover, adoption has plateaued at a level far below expectations. The benefit owner, who was supposed to champion outcomes and report progress, has stopped attending reviews. Operations, pressed by other priorities, is not maintaining the dashboard, so the data available to governance is stale. Stakeholders begin asking whether benefits are actually being delivered, but there is no current evidence to answer them. This is not a technical failure. It is a breakdown in ownership, cadence, and transparency. The constraints are clear. Adoption is flat, suggesting value is leaking, and without accurate data, benefits forecasts are unreliable. The benefits register, which should have tracked outcomes, is outdated. The RACI chart that should have defined ownership has not been reinforced. The communications plan, which ought to set cadence for reviews, has not been followed. Without updating these artifacts, the project manager cannot provide traceable evidence to sponsors. This is how benefits drift happens, not through malice, but through inattention. Without correction, the project risks delivering outputs but failing to realize value. The disciplined response is to reconfirm the benefit owner formally, restart the governance cadence for reporting, and provide targeted enablement such as job aids or short training sessions to improve adoption. At the same time, the forecast in the benefits register should be updated with current data, even if it shows gaps. This is how honesty builds trust, by showing where benefits are falling short and what actions are being taken to correct the course. The project manager's role here is not to carry ownership themselves, but to ensure the designated owner is engaged and supported. Weaker responses undermine credibility. Accepting that benefits are a long tail excuses inaction and leaves sponsors in the dark. Adding new features without evidence may waste resources and does not guarantee improved adoption. Showing only partial results, such as cost savings, to mask adoption gaps is misleading and damages trust when the truth emerges. Each of these shortcuts sacrifices traceability. By contrast, restoring ownership, cadence, enablement, and honest forecasts provides evidence that benefits are being managed, even if progress is slow. This demonstrates maturity, acknowledging reality, and addressing it systematically. This scenario shows why benefit owners are essential. A project manager delivers outputs, but it is the benefit owner who must sustain outcomes after closeout. When owners disengage, benefits drift. The project manager's role is not to take over, but to re-engage them, reminding governance that ownership lies with business stakeholders, not delivery teams. Updating the benefits register with their name, re-establishing communication cadence, and ensuring enablement demonstrates that ownership is not symbolic, but real. This restores credibility with sponsors, who want to see benefits tied to accountable individuals. The third scenario explores a conflict between vendor agreements and new regulatory obligations. A vendor is handling data in a way that complies with existing contract terms but now conflicts with a new privacy rule. The contract is midterm, so replacement is not practical, and the next release is approaching. This is a classic clash between business environment constraints, contractual obligations, and process obligations, compliance with new rules. The project manager cannot ignore the regulation, nor can they simply terminate the contract without consequences. The challenge is to reconcile vendor terms with compliance requirements while protecting delivery cadence. Artifacts provide the foundation. The contract defines obligations and limitations, including modification clauses. The compliance register records the new privacy rule and its requirements. The risk register ensures that the exposure is captured, with an owner and mitigation plan. By consulting these artifacts, the project manager reframes the situation from an argument with the vendor to a structured analysis. What does the regulation require? What does the contract permit, and what risks must be managed? This creates evidence for governance, ensuring that decisions are transparent and defensible. The professional course is to raise a contract modification request, negotiate with the vendor to align practices with the new regulation, and define a minimal compliance slice that can be implemented immediately. This may involve adjusting how data is handled in the short term, providing training to relevant staff, and monitoring compliance closely. At the same time, artifacts must be updated. The compliance register with the new obligations, the contract with modifications, and the risk register with monitoring actions. Governance and the benefit owner should be briefed, showing that compliance and outcomes are being protected simultaneously. Other responses are either reckless or excessive, ignoring the issue until renewal is non-compliant and risks penalties. Terminating the contract immediately without a plan damages delivery and relationships unnecessarily. Moving data off the system temporarily without policy may look like action, but violates both governance and regulatory expectations. Each of these paths sacrifices either compliance, value, or trust. By contrast, formal modification, minimal compliance slice, training, and evidence preserve cadence while honoring governance. This balance is what auditors and sponsors want to see: adaptation through policy, not improvisation. This case demonstrates the intersection of compliance and benefits. Compliance ensures that value delivered is legitimate, while benefits ensure that compliance has a purpose. If a vendor's data handling violates regulation, benefits such as customer trust and adoption will be undermined. By linking compliance registers and benefit registers, the project manager shows integrated thinking. Evidence is not just for regulators, it is also for benefit owners who need assurance that outcomes are credible. This is how process and business environment reinforce each other rather than pulling apart. Across these scenarios, the pattern holds. When compliance gaps appear, impact analysis comes first, then evidence is produced, then corrective action is taken, and artifacts are updated. When benefits drift, ownership must be reconfirmed, cadence restored, and forecasts updated honestly. When vendor clauses conflict with regulation, contracts must be modified, minimal compliance slices delivered, and governance engaged. In each case, artifacts provide the foundation: change logs, benefits registers, compliance registers, contracts, and risk registers. These are not bureaucratic, they are the tools that make decisions traceable and defensible. The pitfalls are consistent as well. Shipping with compliance gaps undermines audits. Masking adoption gaps erodes trust. Ignoring contractual obligations or regulatory changes exposes the organization to penalties. Each shortcut may save time, but costs credibility and traceability. The project manager's discipline lies in choosing the structured path: produce evidence, engage owners, update artifacts, and act within policy. This rhythm is repeatable across domains and demonstrates the professionalism expected of certified project managers. These drills remind us that process and business environment are never separate. Compliance defines boundaries, benefits define purpose, and governance links both. The project manager stands at the center, ensuring that impact analysis comes before action, evidence supports decisions, and owners are engaged. This is not about slowing projects down, but about protecting value in environments that constantly change. By rehearsing these responses, project managers condition themselves to act calmly and transparently, even under pressure. That is what stakeholders, sponsors, and auditors all expect. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.